Welcome to Sounds Like Mike, the show that teaches you how to live a healthy creative lifestyle and how to make your passion your job. I'm your host, Mike, and today on the podcast we have Shae Paterson. He's done some incredible work for clients like Google, Hasbro, Bell Media, and the United Nations, to name a few. Today we talked about how Shae built his entire career by connecting with people on social media, why the camera does in fact matter, and why being honest, enthusiastic, and self-aware is key to building long-lasting relationships.
If you talk like you're like a seasoned professional and you actually aren't, they'll like know because they're probably a seasoned professional.
Right. Exactly.
And that just plays off worse in your favor than just being honest and upfront.
Sounds Like Mike is now available on Spotify, Google Play, and iTunes. So if you want to listen to the audio version of this podcast, go subscribe to any of those platforms. But for now, let's just jump into the conversation with filmmaker Shae Paterson. So, Mr. Shae Paterson, we'll try and make this quick because we want to spoon after.
Of course.
And we only have an hour.
Of course.
So you got to squeeze in the 10 minutes of spooning. So give me a brief intro on who you are and what you do. Man. So just introduce yourself and like what it is that you do basically.
Cool. Well, I'm Shae Paterson, and I guess I'm an aspiring director of photography. I do shoot stuff every now and then. I do a lot of gaffing. I do a lot of camera operating. I do a lot of gripping, just kind of a little bit of everything.
Right. So you're living in the film world.
I'm living in the film world. Like, yeah, primarily commercial, corporate, and features and indies and stuff like that. So
right.
A little bit of TV. And
so who are you to me?
Well, I'm also the co-owner of Something Orange, which is Mr. Manis's our production company essentially.
Yeah.
Which we do a lot of. Primarily, it started out kind of as event coverage essentially, but it's been evolving into something a little bit more than that. Hopefully.
So what got you started in film? This is actually something that I don't really feel like I know the story full.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting talking to you because you already know a lot of this stuff. So, but that's definitely something I feel like I probably shared it with you at some point, but
a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. I actually started out being, I don't know, I've just always been interested in like behind the scenes stuff, and I've always loved movies when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I actually started out kind of approaching, weirdly enough, becoming a DJ and doing making music and stuff like that. And then I realized that was a bad idea because I'm not musical at all. And everything I made I made some okay stuff, but it was more, I've kind of circled back and thinking about it now. It was more just because I really like enjoyed the technical element of it. More than anything. Like I spent more time learning how to MIDI map my DJ controller to do weird stuff in the software than I did actually making music. So
right. So you're more interested in like the technical aspect of it than the artistic.
Yeah, at least from a music perspective.
Yeah.
And then I started doing more like I guess lighting and sound stuff in like an AV sense. And that was like in middle school and in high school primarily. And then kind of like when I got into high school, I kind of started, thinking about what should I do? And I knew it was either like theater, like live entertainment, or like film.
Right.
I did the technical theater program. I did it all like all the art classes, all the film classes, all the video classes, animation, everything like that.
Yeah.
And just by grade 12, I just kind of settled down. Like I don't like sitting in front of a computer. I enjoy it when I'm doing something other than editing.
Right, yeah.
But I don't really like being locked down. I like going out and doing things and exploring.
Yeah.
So kind of with a natural progression of that was like, well, film makes sense because you're out there on set and you're doing stuff and you're
different every day.
It's different every day. It's you're never in your house. You're always out doing something. So yeah, and then right after school, I went to Red Deer College for technical theater and entertainment production for 2 years.
Yeah.
Which was unrelated to film, but it was like semi-related. Like I learned a lot of rigging stuff and safety stuff and construction and things like that.
Yeah.
And then in the last 4 or 5 months of school, I got offered a job at a production company in Calgary, doing essentially like corporate videography. And that just spurred me to be able to move to Calgary to justify right away. And then ended up kind of, they stopped having as much work as they were normally having, and it just kind of transitioned into full freelance. And now it's been almost 2.5 years. 2 years, I think.
So you went from DJ to theater tech.
Yeah.
And then you jumped into video. Where did the video transition happen? Right when you got hired by that one company, or did you just do it on your own, freelance?
I guess like that's an important part of the story that I kind of missed out on. Is it it would have been in grade 9, I think. Me and a close friend of mine, not at the time. He actually used to bully me, weirdly enough. He treated me terribly.
He bullied you into being a videographer? And that's why you hate video.
That's why I hate video so much. That's why I hate myself. That's why I live in a cardboard box. But good friend of mine, Taylor Peters, who's now in his own right become a very successful animator. That's what he kind of moved on to.
Yeah.
We started. We were just a couple kids, and his mom or someone, I don't know, hooked us up with this wedding.
Yeah.
We had to shoot this wedding for $200 for being there, for 4 cameras, and editing the whole thing together into a highlight reel and a full just video event.
Yeah.
Video. It was terrible. I think we spent almost half of our earnings at the Tim Hortons after we finished shooting it. It was insane. We borrowed all the gear from my school, which they were very chill about, and it was. But we shot that, and we're like, oh, we could we started out in weddings, and we were we were hearing murmuring on the internet wow, you could make $10,000 to shoot a wedding,
right?
Which is true, but our weddings were shit. They were bad.
Yeah.
But then we kind of progressed with that, and we made a production company called, if I remember correctly, it was called Unique Productions.
Oh, nice.
Which wasn't very unique.
Very unique.
Yeah, very unique.
Sure
the logo was very generic. It was so bad. But we started out with that. We kind of sat on it for grade 10. We didn't really do anything with it. We did a couple videos, just more on a personal level, and then we started doing these the Alberta skills competitions, which are kind of trades competitions. They held them a regional, and then a provincial, and then a national. And then the national goes to international. And we won 3 years in a row regional, and then went to the provincials, and we lost 2 years, and then we won or came in second place the last year, which was kind of cool. And they were just fun things. And then that was the last year we were kind of didn't know what to do out of school, and we're just screw it, let's just start a restart production company essentially. So we started Paterson Peters, also a very unique name. Just started 2 last names. And we focused on that over the summer, and we shot a couple more weddings. We shot some juicy corporate videos. I think our biggest client was $1,200. And it was a 3 or 4 minute video with interviews, B-roll. It turned out pretty good, actually. I'm still pretty happy with it considering how incompetent we were. And it was for a yoga company or something like that. And we had an office we got for free in the back of a skate shop. Which is pretty cool. And I don't know. So we kind of been doing that, and then I got into college, and Taylor decided to move out to Vancouver to pursue animation. And I continued to just kind of do video stuff on the side, primarily with Red Deer Public School District. We did these little documentaries. And then that just kind of I think I met Craiger, who's the owner of the production company that allowed me to move to Calgary.
Right.
I think I met him on LinkedIn of all places. And he hit me up and was like, hey, let's grab coffee. And he loved my stuff and hired me a couple months later. So
that segues really nicely into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is how you met me. And you have a knack for building relationships on social media. Really, really well. And I've always been amazed by the way that you can make connections with people online and then just have long-lasting relationships with them in person. And it seems without fail, although I'm sure there's failures. But anyway, my point is that's how you met me.
It's
on
true.
Facebook. You met me on Facebook because you Facebook stalked me. Anyways, give me
I think I don't even know how I originally found your Insta. Oh, you know what it is? Here, this is it. So I was this was like a year into college, and I was like, I need to start planning to make the move to Calgary and like meeting people in Calgary.
Yeah.
And just kind of networking in that area, because how am I going to go work if I don't know anyone?
Yeah.
And I followed the hashtag YYC film.
Ah.
And I just went through and liked every single post in YYC film.
Right.
And then went through and followed every single person in YYC film.
Yeah.
So then obviously you hashtag YYC film a lot.
Yeah.
And I started
I was like
seeing
the only one post. I was not the only one, but I was the only one regularly posting in YYC film at the time.
Yeah. No, so your stuff kind of stood out because it was like the best quality stuff amongst a whole bunch of fucking Instagram video, like phone videos and shit like that.
Yeah.
So I like would start to follow you, and then I think I eventually added on you on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then December sometime, I think there was this
But you're missing a part.
Oh,
we had a mutual connection.
Oh, that's right. What's his name?
Brian.
Brian
The Lion.
Yeah. I love that guy. Yeah.
He kept telling me how he's like, hey, there's this guy who really wants to meet up with you next time you're in Red Deer. Come meet with me and my buddy.
That's
and
funny.
It was like
yeah.
I was so annoyed by it because I was like, I go to Red Deer like once every now and then and hang out with my girlfriend, and I was like, I posted that I was like in Red Deer, and he's like, hey, I see you in Red Deer. You can come hang out with me. I remember that, buddy. And I was like, no.
I was at school. I was like, and he told me that, and I was like, screw off, Brian. Like, what are you doing? You idiot.
He kept trying to connect us, and then this is where your part of the story comes in.
Yeah, and then I think I had you on Facebook at that point, and then there was this opportunity that came up for this like low budget filmmaking challenge. I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But
No Budget Film Festival.
It was literally called No Budget Film Festival.
Yeah.
The idea was that you received a script from the festival, and then you had to just kind of interpret it and direct it and shoot it. So I
you
posted on Facebook,
yeah.
and I was like, hey, does anyone want to do this? And I just tagged a bunch of people that I kind of like knew were in Calgary, and and then I think then there was, oh man, I kind of start calling out names. There was that one guy who was in the group chat that we just like X-nayed immediately. It was like, let's make a video with where cameras or guns or something like that.
Yeah, and we're like, you started a new group chat.
Yeah,
immediately. You didn't even respond. You just started a new group chat. And you're like, okay, so we're making a video now.
Yeah, this is the
with one
actual,
less person.
Yeah. Anyway, that was so then we shot this thing, and it it turned out okay. It wasn't the best. It was I honestly, after that, I was like, fuck, I'm never, these people hate me. I'm never gonna, because I did a terrible job of directing it. I was so scatterbrained, and I just it was bad. But you obviously didn't. And then I think you reached out to me a month later or so to shoot Mr. Wrath Bicycles.
Oh yeah, it was too.
And then we worked on that, and then
and then we worked on Future Grown Up, and then we're like, why don't we just start a production company? And then we did, and then it kind of like was like,
yeah. And we're like, what could we call this? Something orange. I remember it was like the conversation was like, what should we call this? It needs to be like something orange or something like that, and then boom, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and something orange was born. Most of your connections you've leveraged off of social media. Basically.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, I've gotten a little more chill about it, but like when I first moved to Calgary, it was like coffee meetings, follow on Instagram, and like using kind of like meeting people, and then warming up to them over Instagram when they see your content, even if it's shit content, like meme content like I post. They see that you're like doing stuff, and they're like, oh, this guy's doing stuff. He must be, I don't know, he must be decent if he's doing stuff all the time, like if he's working. And then you kind of start to build their interest that way. And then you just slam the nail in the coffin with, hey, do you want to grab coffee? And then see where it goes.
Do you have any specific, like if you can give a step-by-step, like let's say there's somebody you really want to connect with, and this was like 5 years ago, and you're like moving to Calgary, or 4 years ago, I don't know.
Here's a good example, actually. I'm trying to do this in Vancouver and Toronto as well. And I've been pretty successful in Vancouver because it's an easy drive out there. But like Toronto's been a little bit more of a harder breakthrough. But I guess a good example is transposition films in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like way back when I got hired from that production company in Calgary, me and Maren, my girlfriend, we went to Vancouver for her sister's grad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm gonna try to, network with some people, meet some people while I'm here.
Right.
Why not? And I had been following these. I found them on Instagram, and I'd been following these two guys based out of Vancouver for a little while now. And I was like, they're doing cool stuff. They're like a cool production company.
Yeah.
It's like small enough that there's like just two of them, so it's, I don't know, it's easier to approach that entity opposed to like a corporation, or like a larger company. So I think I reached out to Ryan, and there's Ryan and Josh, and I reached out to Ryan over Facebook, and I was like, hey man, like I'm in Vancouver, and I'm like, working in the film industry out in Calgary, and I just want to connect with people out here, and and I think part of why he said yes was because you have to have some sort of credibility on whether it's your Instagram or your Facebook, just something that shows that you work kind of in film. So I had work at Not a Robot Studios on my Facebook, and I had some BTS from Productions on there at the time, and so he said yeah, totally, and we ended up grabbing coffee in their really sick office down on Pender. It's right downtown. And then I met Josh there as well, and we kind of like chatted a bunch, and it seemed to go fairly well, but I was like fairly green at the time, and I could tell that like obviously they're not going to scramble to hire me or anything like that. Like I was just kind of it was just cool to talk to them and talk about the industry in Vancouver and get a sense for like how the industry works there versus Calgary, and every coffee meeting you end up learning something. And then fast forward to last summer, we had actually just gotten back from Vancouver, and it was a series of unfortunate events, but it ended up working out for the best. But immediately after we got back from Vancouver shooting a documentary out there, I took Maren was going out to see her sister, and she didn't want to put up the money to get a flight, so I was like, let's drive out. So we started driving out, and then about halfway there, my car, the infamous Corolla, broke down on the Coca-Cola. Which was a bit of a clusterfuck. The
misadventures of Shae Paterson.
Yeah, God, in my car.
And getting work in Vancouver.
Yes, yeah. Frequently this happens. And I actually had a production booked. It was like a indie thing that I was helping out for free with a friend that was from Calgary and had moved out there. I was just like, I remember we were like in the Canadian Tire parking lot assessing the situation. I'm like, this is never going to get fixed by tomorrow. Like, I was like, Maren, I think we should go. I have this production booked. We might as well just go. Like, I know that we're most of the way there, and then we can just rent a vehicle on the way back. It'll be fine. And we kind of like chatted about it a little bit, and I was like hesitant because I was like, well, what if it takes only 2 days to get it fixed, and then we just don't have to tow it back? And but we decided to just go ahead, and I ended up meeting Josh again on that production. So the same guy I met like a year and a half ago at that point. Worked with him. He really liked working with me. And then just a couple months ago, I worked on a 2-week commercial production with him that I gaffed for him. So I don't know. I guess the long and the short of that is like sometimes it takes time. You don't have to force it, but like just having a good positive attitude and meeting people through the internet is like can work out really well.
So more specifically, do you have any personal philosophies on like connecting with people on social media? Like, do you have like any sort of like do's and don'ts when you're initially connecting with them and they don't know who you are? Or is there any sort of like, do you have like a method or a process that you go through in building that relationship so you don't come off as creepy or you don't come off as like needy? You know what I mean? Because I feel like the biggest issue, like one thing that I heard a lot when I first started was just message everyone. You're going to get 100 no's and 1 yes, basically. But I find that like I did like a little bit of that, and I quickly realized that it was turning people off. Especially when you're inexperienced and you don't really have anything that valuable for them.
Totally.
So anyway, like what are some of your philosophies on like connecting with people and sort of cold messaging them and trying to get that initial coffee meeting without seeming like you like are mooching off them essentially?
Totally. my mentality about it's changed a lot recently, because now I have some clout, like I have even just something I've noticed is also people look at your friends list, and if they have similar friends, then they'll be more willing to grab coffee with you, because they're like, it just, again, it adds credibility. But I think, like, going back to
you're starting at zero.
Starting at zero,
but you have maybe like a little bit of work on your file, on your profile.
Yeah. I think it's really just about, like, you got to think that you're taking their time out of their day, and they're probably a lot busier than you, and just to always assume that they're more important than you.
Right.
That definitely helps. Follow them and like their stuff, but don't like comment on everything. Don't like, I don't know, just don't be creepy about it. Like, just actively follow them and maybe comment every once in a while, but like, you don't bombard them, because that's like, I think you can kind of relate it to almost celebrities in a way. Like, if someone you don't know, like, is big in your perception, at least, is huge in the industry, just treat them like a normal person. Because if you treat them like a celebrity, even though they aren't, like, it's just within the film community that they're maybe a celebrity, or they just work a lot or something like that. If you treat them like a normal person, that goes a long way. You need to give it time. Again, I kind of mentioned that earlier. Like, if you've added them on social media, that's like step one, and then like wait a couple weeks and follow them and kind of interact, but like just take time. And then maybe at like a couple weeks in, or if they like are interacting back with you, and you can kind of notice that, like, oh, they commented on my post, or oh, they like always look at my story, or like Facebook, my Instagram story, or like look at my posts, or like my posts, then that's maybe like the step to kind of like, hey, like, do you want to grab coffee? Especially if you're at like a beginning stage, just be like very upfront, just be like, I'm like fairly new in Calgary, and like I have primarily video experience, but I'm definitely like newer in the industry. Right. I just like to hear about the industry in Calgary. And that was kind of how I approached it when I first started out networking in Calgary. Right. Because if you talk like you're like a seasoned professional and you actually aren't, they'll like know, because they're probably a seasoned professional. Right. Exactly. And that just plays off worse in your favor than just being honest and upfront. Like, just being like, hey, like, I'm fairly new, I'm really excited, and I'm interested in talking to you just about the industry. But like, don't make it an exception, expectation that there should be like work afterwards or anything like that. Like, you're just meeting them on the basis that they might have knowledge about the industry in Calgary. Yeah. And every little bit of knowledge you can garner is going to help you anyway, even if it doesn't get you work. Yeah. Especially those relationships. Yeah. The relationships are, like, I'm very adamant about this personally, is that like the relationships are way more important than the actual work, because the relationships will lead to more work than begging for a job. Totally. And eventually you just don't have to worry about work. Like, work will just fall into your lap. Like, it's because that's where the relationships come in. If they like you, they have like they have a preferred list, even if it's not a physical list, in their mind of people they want to hire. Totally. And if you're at the top of that list, then you're always going to get work. Totally. And then they're also going to refer you to other people too. Right. And like referrals are the best kind of the best jobs, because if you get a referral, that means that someone already likes working with you, and they're like, this person would be perfect for this project. Yeah. And then in addition to that, you have the chance to kill it and do an awesome job with a new person. Yeah, you could become their new favorite person, or even just like their B-lister, which is fine. Like, if you're just like their second option, but then there's every once in a while you're going to get a call from them. So it's that's a really good point too. It is about the relationships, and if you talk to people and you're fun and you care about what you do, like, the work will just kind of fall in place. So, totally. Which sounds very like I'm about to sell you something on Instagram or social media. Yeah, listen to my last seminar about sounds like Shae. Yeah. I'm gonna sell me this pen. But it's true. Yeah, honesty is really like the key to it. Major key alert. Honesty is major key. Yeah, no, it's true. Shae Paterson, honesty is major key. / DJ Khaled. We collaborate.
Yeah.
He's, I have a good relationship with DJ Khaled.
Because you were honest.
I'm honest.
You're
yeah.
like, listen,
he
DJ
sees
Khaled.
Shae Paterson. He's like, that guy's honest. And I
Right. Because you just
appreciate
grabbed
that.
coffee with him. You didn't ask for a job.
Totally. I grabbed coffee with him on his jet ski when he was little do you know, when he was trapped on his jet ski out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
I was on a jet ski behind him, supporting him
with coffee.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. It sounds fake, but it's real.
That sounds like Shae.
Classic.
If you could boil it down and put it on a t-shirt, what would the couple sentences be?
Honesty and enthusiasm go a million miles.
Yeah.
They really are going to help you out in any industry, but also specifically in this industry. Mm-hmm. You have to really care about not necessarily being like the best at everything, but just like care about doing a good job, and also like trying your best, just like working really hard.
Yeah.
No matter what, like if you're doing like videos, if you're working on set, if you're, doing marketing, like anything, it's just because it's, people will notice that, and it gets you places. There we go. There's the t-shirt edition.
I'll put that on my t-shirt.
Yeah, that's a good t-shirt. That was a little long though, I think.
I also want to talk about, because this is something that I didn't start learning about until a couple of years into my career here, is there's alternative ways of making money as a filmmaker that aren't just like shooting stuff.
Totally.
And I feel like a lot of that comes from new filmmakers tend to watch a lot of YouTube videos about like how to make a movie. They're like, how to make your video look cinematic, how to shoot an interview, how to light an interview. And they're like, I can light anything. I can shoot anything. Why is nobody hiring me? Why am I not making a living in this industry? I can't afford to do anything. This is actually kind of on a different note. They're not making the connections. That's why. But anyway, there's more ways to make money than just filming stuff.
Totally.
Specifically.
Totally.
So give me the juice. Give me some of that.
Oh man, the juice. Sick. Well, the juice is something that I do a lot of, and a lot of people do, and a lot of people don't realize that you can do. Is sell yourself on the street. No,
oh, man.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding.
That's where I started, really.
Yeah.
And then people were like, hey, do you have a camera? And I was like, actually, I do. And they started paying me to film things.
Right? It's the best sensation going
Rags
from
to
sex
riches.
work to making films. Yeah.
That's really how you become a filmmaker. Totally. We all start out as prostitutes.
Totally. You need to know your place first,
Right. And your place is on the street.
Yeah. In a cardboard box. I guess something that a lot of people don't realize is that you can rent your kit, your equipment that you buy. There's all these memes that pop up on movie set memes, and every once in a while it's like joking about how expensive camera equipment is and stuff like that is, and how stupid it is to buy all of it. You're like, oh, I'm gonna be poor and sad with my 5 million GH5s.
Yeah.
But you can rent those out. You can rent those to a production. You can rent those to random people, which I don't necessarily recommend. You can rent those to people that you trust.
Right. People with insurance.
Yeah, people have insurance, Yeah. So that's something
as it's sitting on your shelf, it's just collecting dust. It's not making you any money.
Totally.
And there's inherent value in having that. And you can also beat out local rental companies because you're independent. You have no overhead necessarily.
Totally.
So you can just rent it at whatever price you want and undercut everyone essentially.
Yeah. So it's beneficial in that regard. And it'll also like gives you power in negotiations and situations.
Right.
It is almost it's not only a physical tool that you use on set, but it's a bartering chip and a tool.
Right. This is why it bugs me when people say the camera doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's fake. Camera matters.
Yeah.
I mean, like it doesn't matter if you're looking at physical specs necessarily.
Yeah.
And obviously in some cases it does, but if you're shooting your own movie, it doesn't matter, whatever.
Right.
It doesn't.
You can shoot the same product on this camera or this
camera,
camera or this camera
or this camera or the camera the government or the
great
Google,
camera
the Google
in the
Home.
sky.
You could shoot it on the Google Home.
I could shoot it on my laptop camera
or the backup camera on the Kia. What was that?
Yeah, that was a great
bit. Yeah. But the camera matters a lot.
Yeah.
And I kind of knew that after a while of like being in the industry. And then I decided to make an investment in a Sony FS7. Yeah. And that's when I really realized that the camera matters.
Yeah.
Honestly, objectively, I wouldn't, if I had my first choice of camera, I wouldn't shoot on the Sony FS7. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't have bought a Sony FS7. Yeah. But it's allotted me a lot of opportunities to get clients, because clients want that camera. It's a producer's camera. It's Netflix approved. It's often used by like a large portion of shows you watch on TV are shot on the Sony FS7.
Yeah.
And even though Mr. Man is here, he bought in a Sony FS5, which is like objectively in almost every way better for the price point. Like
it's not like, it doesn't line up with a lot of things that are shooting, and so people won't hire me as like a B cam op or whatever, or if they want a single operator, it's
tricky. It's like a good camera and it records. But honestly, with the Shogun, you get far superior quality to the FS7. Like it's a better quality, higher, not higher resolution, but like just higher frame rates. You get a lot more options, and it's also more modular, and you can break it down. And it's like barely larger than a A7S. So objectively a better camera. And I was like pondering between the two, and then I ended up buying a FS7.
Right.
And it has been beneficial.
She has a better camera than me. Okay,
I have a better. I don't. That's the thing. I don't have a better camera than you. You have a far better camera than me, in my opinion.
But it's easier to leverage.
It's easier to leverage because everything shoots on it.
Yeah.
So producers, I can't count how many times I've seen in Facebook groups, in job Facebook groups and stuff like that, people posting, FS7 user needed, or FS7 owner operator. Like, it's insane. So that's been nice, and then it also is good to familiarize yourself with the camera, or the camera like that, because it is so frequently used. And
one thing I think you glossed over a little bit is that even though there's the initial investment of the camera, in buying that camera and owning that camera, you're creating value for yourself, and you can earn that investment back.
Totally. Not only through jobs, not only does it get you jobs, but it also allows you to just rent it out too.
Yeah.
Or like you rent it to the production. So many times I've taken like an okay rate, or a decent rate, but and then they're like, oh wait, you have an FS7, we'll just rent yours, because it's already, you have it, it's already set up. It's like, it works for you, you've got it. Like, dealing with rental companies can be kind of like a pain in the ass sometimes. So it's so for them it's like easier, like, oh, this owner operator has his own camera, his or her own camera that you could just take it and run, and then you're like, oh, and also the rate for that is similar to the rental house, but they'd rather go with you anyway because it's just easier for them. Okay,
but I have a story relating to
camera tings.
Camera tings and why the camera matters. When I was working at my very first job in film.
Good old Kicker.
Yeah. And I was working at Kicker, and I'd finally earned, it's the first time I had like a decent paying job. Mm-hmm. And I earned enough money where I could buy a camera. And so there was a used A7S, this A7S.
This boy right here. You can't even see my finger. This boy.
That boy here. It was, I had the option between, basically it boiled down to A7S, or there was a used C100 that was for sale on Kijiji. And me, being a student of YouTube and like teaching yourself how to do film, but not really having I lived in the corporate world, you know what I mean? I didn't really have any interactions with like set life. So I just looked at the specs and I was like, A7S is clearly the better camera. It's smaller. I can shoot 4K on it. The C100 Mark I couldn't shoot 4K. It has smaller sensor, is worse in low light. The footage was way softer and the codecs were super inefficient. Like, everything about the A7S just like was way better from a spec perspective. I was like, this thing is going to shoot way better video. It's going to be way more versatile. I can shoot whatever I want on it.
And you can take photos.
And I can take photos if I want, yeah. And so I didn't consult anybody on it. I just kind of I waited it for a couple days, and then I went with the A7S. They're both used. Bought it for $1,900 or $1,800 at the time. And when I told one of the producers at the company that, I was like, oh, I bought the A7S, blah, blah, blah. I can shoot 4K if I want to get an external recorder, all this stuff. And then she was like, oh, that's cool. It's a cool camera. She's like, but I would have hired you more if you got the C100. And I was so pissed off about it at the time. I was just like, she doesn't even know what she's talking about. A7S is such a better camera. This is the problem with the industry. But I didn't know anything. I didn't know how the industry worked. And I didn't understand that the camera that they use that works for their workflow, and they're already shooting on Canon cinema cameras. And so buying a C100 would have been a lot more effective for me.
System, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It fits into more people's workflow, so it would have worked. I would have been able to slide into that world a lot sooner. And it took me a long time to realize that I was wrong, and she wasn't wrong. She wasn't ignorant of cameras. I mean, she was a little ignorant of cameras, but bottom line was she was the producer. She was the one with the money, and she's the one hiring me. Yeah, exactly. So like I fucked up by buying the A7S.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, people get, especially when there's those systems in place, like there's a workflow. They already have like LUTs ready to go for that camera.
Exactly.
And they're comfortable with that camera. Yeah. And they honestly, like, most content, especially a couple of years ago, didn't even need 4K. Like it was HD. They'd rather have HD and something that comes out of camera. The C100, has a great out of camera look. They can just straight to edit. They don't have to do color grades. It's like audio's built in. You got your 2 XLRs. Like it's just.
Yeah, everything about it, like from a workflow perspective, is way better.
Better, yeah.
Way better.
100%.
Exactly.
Yeah. No external audio, just like...
Oh, I know. Fuck. I regret it so much, honestly. When I think about it, I'm like, fuck, I should have got the C100. But it was a big lesson, And I feel like it's a lesson that most people don't learn. And I think it's one of the many barriers that keeps people from moving further in their career. And it sounds stupid that just the camera would have that sort of power. But when you're dealing on, like, you are the company and your client is looking at you as the filmmaker, you're never going to get hired by other filmmakers if you're not thinking like a producer.
Totally, yeah.
So even though it's just the camera, there's many other things that sort of fit into those slots. But yeah, sort of considering the right camera, the camera does matter. It doesn't matter if you want to work in this industry. It doesn't matter if you want to make like a short film.
No, totally.
Make short film or whatever.
Shoot whatever, yeah. But it is like a bargaining chip, and it is like... It gets you gigs. Like if you want to work full time, like consistently, you have to think about that as an option. It's like, what is my bargaining chip with this company? Yeah, exactly. And that FS7 has gotten me, like it's not only monetarily paid itself off, but it's gotten me so many credits that are so valuable. Like for like Bell Media, Rogers, TELUS, Barbie, which you got a nice Barbie one too.
Yeah, I got Barbie credit.
Yeah, we Barbied together.
Yeah.
Just like I think, honestly, from the point I got that camera to now, I've accumulated like so much credibility, which is worth it in the long run. Even like, it's more worth it than the cost of any camera could be. Because then people look at my website and it's like, oh, this guy has shot some shit. Yeah. Even if it's like just garbage, it doesn't matter. You still have the Bell logo on your website because you shot for Bell.
That's a good question too. Do you think that the quality of your work is more valuable than those credits? Because you can spend those credits in a way that can be more valuable than your work. I also see a lot of shitty people working on really amazing things. So what do you think about that? That's the quality of your work. How much does the quality of your work play into how often you get hired?
I think the quality of work is really important because that is that first step. Right. Because you got to like think about what the producer's thinking about because they need someone. They want to hire someone. Yeah. They need a solution to their problem. And you need to think, how can I solve as many of their problems as possible? Right. And that's the key to like making like long-term clients and making clients that are happy and that will keep coming back. Yeah. If they're in often like I find a lot of my work on like Facebook groups and Facebook pages. And it's starting to transition now to be more like people reach out to me, but like all the interesting gigs and all the gigs that really add to my credibility always come from Facebook groups. Right. And so I kind of have my website formatted in a way that like it basically guides them through why I'm the best person for the job. So the quality of my work plays largely into that. And I feel like when you're starting out, that's the only thing you have in a lot of ways. Definitely. You don't have the camera, you don't have the credits, you don't have the gear. Yeah. If you shot something and it looks good, then that'll open the door. Yeah. So that's first and foremost important. And frankly, like a lot of the stuff that I shoot for like the good looking clients, like the TELUS, the Bell, all that stuff. It's okay stuff. It's like doc stuff or like very corporate stuff. Yeah. I don't show a lot of it on my website, frankly. And often I can't because it's for Bell or someone, like I physically signed an NDA that I can't. So that's where those credits come into play, I guess.
But also, it's not the kind of work that you want to continue getting necessarily.
That's true. That's true. So I think where that flips into is you need to show, you not only need to, especially when you're working, like it's your bread and butter, you need to show on your website that you can do your bread and butter.
Right.
But you also need to show what you want to do.
Right.
And what I've found is I don't show any of the bread and butter minus the credits.
So no corporate videos, no boring shit.
No, because if you show like an impressive like short film that you shot that's well lit and well shot, and you show, you know, some fashion stuff that you shot, and you show I don't have a single interview frame or clip on my website. Yeah. But that gets the clients, like,
it gets those clients excited.
It gets the client. Yeah, it gets the, weirdly enough, the corporate clients excited, because they're like, holy shit, this guy he's like from the big movies and stuff like that. Yeah. It really is a razzle and dazzle kind of approach. And then so they watch my demo reel, they see my work, and then they go to the About Me section, and it's kind of all formatted to go through with them. Yeah. And then they see, oh, this guy's shot for blah 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 blah. Credibility. And then if they have any other questions, they jump down and they see gear and like my full credits list, not just the logos. They can go through that and look at that. So I don't even remember what the original question was, but I guess
it was how does the quality of your work play into getting
I guess
work?
It's that first door opening. Right. As time goes on, I think the credibility in the credits list almost becomes more important than your quality of your work. Yeah. But I feel like it's more of like your quality of work should still go up and be better. Right. You know what I mean? But it's still like people will still pick you over someone else over your credits. Right.
It's not the last thing you put on your website.
No.
But it's still the first thing you put on your website, but it doesn't take up the most of your website.
Yeah, it doesn't.
The real estate is taken up by yeah. There you go.
It's something that people look at and like, this guy can shoot, that looks really good, and then the hook is you've got the gear, you've got the experience, you've got the the credit list, you've worked for these clients.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what sells consistently, I guess.
Totally.
Yeah.
So if you're starting from ground zero, if I'm somebody who I really want to be a freelance filmmaker.
Corporate videographer.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be a corporate videographer or whatever. And I just, I filmed some stuff in high school, but it's not that good. What's the first step?
I think be careful how much you network.
Right.
Network, but like network to people that are on your level, I guess, or like just slightly above your level. Or just within the realm of what you can do, kind of. Right. Because you got to be careful with that. And I actually have a really funny story. Maybe I don't know who's watching this podcast, but they might not know a guy. Nobody. This is where the
we're gonna watch
this
podcast.
Eric Andre moment or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this place is really worse for wear. Yeah, I'm getting really hot. Do you have an AC in here? But a gentleman by the name of Nick Thomas, right? Who's a director of photography here in Calgary, Alberta, and for the longest time was the only Alexa Mini owner. Which I don't know the demographic, but Alexa Mini is a very good, expensive camera, right? And he does lots of commercial work for very high, like not even close to the stuff that I do. I do like corporate commercial work. He does commercial work. Yeah. And now he's moving on to do feature films and stuff like that. But I in my first couple months of moving to Calgary, I reached out to him once on LinkedIn of all places. And I said like, hey man, like I really like your work. I'd love to grab a coffee sometime. And he saw it and he didn't respond. And I had no good credible work at the time. I was not credible at all. Yeah. I had no credibility. No one vouching for me, like nothing. Yeah. And then a couple months later, it was like a lull and I was like panicking and I was like, oh God, I got to like network again. And I went through LinkedIn, did the same thing, and I accidentally sent him the exact same message. Oh no. I was like, hey man, like I really love, like without even being aware that I had previously sent a message to him. Right. I was like, hey man, I really love it. It was like almost the same thing, just slightly different. It was like copy and paste. It was so bad.
Oh no.
And also Scene.
Right. And no response.
And now I'm working with him fairly frequently.
Yeah.
So, that's something you got to avoid because it's a bad look.
Yeah.
Like, and then obviously it wouldn't ruin your career or anything like that.
Right.
But it's just like not a good look. So I preyed on Mr. Man is here.
Yeah.
And
I was low level. I was low tier.
I mean, like you were like low, like you
no,
were.
it's true though.
You were like
I was
of
working,
the low tier. You were like higher in the low tier, I'd say.
Right. I was working, but I wasn't working on anything special.
Yeah.
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 But those are the people that can relate to you, and are also willing to work with you. You know, people that can see. I think that you have to be able to provide value to somebody, and you really have to be honest with yourself on whether or not you can actually provide that kind of value that they're looking for. And if you look at somebody who's doing incredible commercial work, and you have never picked up a camera, it's going to be really hard to convince them that you can actually do anything of value for them.
Totally.
Because they already have people to run their coffee. They already have people to do the menial stuff, and they already have people who can operate a camera and have been doing it for like decades. Right?
Yeah.
So it's really hard to convince those people of your value. So I would personally say that it's not necessarily off the table reaching out, but it can burn you very easily.
Yeah. And
it's more fruitful reaching to people who are closer to your level and can actually use your skills.
Totally. No, that's I think like a whole part of it too, and in the film industry in general, and just in life, just be very like self-reflective too.
Right.
Like, think about like, okay, am I actually good at this thing?
Yeah.
Or like, even when you get to a point where you're fairly successful, think about that all the time, because like, wait, like, should I be doing this differently, or like, am I doing this right, or is there a better way to do this? Because if you stop like being self-reflective, then you're just gonna burn yourself eventually. Like, it is really important. That's a good point.
Totally.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I
feel like there's definitely more alternative ways to make money in film.
Yeah, that was a very long
time ago. But we can move on.
Okay, sure.
Actually, let's see. Advice for the part-time creative that wants to go full-time. We sort of already covered that.
Yeah.
That's the end of that's basically the end of my notes.
I do have more for the...
Give me the juice.
Give me the juice. Here's the juice.
No, that's your juice.
That's mine. Oh, okay. You got two juices, you lucky man.
I do. I make sure I'm all stocked with juice so I can...
Juice master.
I only want to receive juice.
Yeah.
I don't need juice.
No exuding juice.
Yeah, exactly.
You exuded a little bit of juice earlier, so...
That's true.
There was some tidbits of information.
Every morning I exude juice.
Oh, gross.
And sometimes at night.
Ooh.
You know, if it's a good day. Depends if I've been eating like whole wheat or not.
You have a lot of beverages and you got, yeah.
Anyway.
Exude the beverage
Sorry,
juice.
you were going to give me some juice.
I was, yes. So you can rent equipment. That's back to the many eons ago what we were talking about. You can rent equipment.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so a lot of people who are starting out, they kind of have the director complex,
right?
Which I'm sure you could talk a whole bunch about.
Yeah.
Where they all want to be the director.
Yeah.
You know, they all want to be in charge.
Totally.
And as time goes on, you learn that sucks sometimes.
And also, everyone wants to be the fucking director.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Totally. Literally, like so many people. You go to film school and like, who wants to be a director?
Me.
And then the second one's like, who wants to be a director of photography? And then it's like 6 or 7.
And then they're like, who wants to be the editor?
Anyway.
Who wants to be the PA?
Yeah. Well, no one wants to be a PA.
Exactly.
Kidding. Yeah. But I mean, like, no, I'm not going to shit on PAs. PAs are so important to the film industry.
That's the thing.
But lifer PAs scare me.
Right.
People that are like,
I am a PA.
Start PAing and like that's what they want to do for the. I'm like you're great and you're doing an amazing job, but you're really crusty too. I don't,
it's not a fun life.
No.
I think the point. I'll let you get to your point.
Yeah. God, what was my point? Anyway, more money. Yeah, money things. So I think we all want to make our films. We all want to do our passion projects.
Right.
Some of us might be like, I want to shoot spec work, or I want to direct something, or I want to write something, or I want to do something creatively. You should do that. You should pursue that. But if you want to make money, if you want to make money in the film industry,
right,
or doing corporate videos or whatever, continue to pursue those passion projects, but also pursue like jobs in the industry.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real leap between like videographer and like filmmaker.
Yeah.
Is like, you really, or like beginning videographer, I guess, and like filmmaker or like professional videographer.
Right.
Is you need to also, if you find something that you like enjoy, that's just a crew job.
Right.
That's like a really good way to like, one, like learn how other people run sets.
Yeah.
Two, like learn that job inside and out.
Yeah.
And then three, make money, and like often a lot of money if you get good at it.
Yeah.
You got to strike a balance, and like sometimes it could be tiring at times, and sometimes you maybe need to think about and step away. But like to have that as like an option, it's better than working at Starbucks.
True.
Unless you really like making coffee. But even making coffee at Starbucks is shitty.
Right. Well, it puts you in the industry.
Totally.
I think I totally agree with that. I don't see why there's people who are part-time filmmakers that are doing jobs at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You might as well be doing something semi-related to what you
exactly
want to do.
Because while you're working, even though you're not directing anything, you're learning how other people direct people, whether it's good or bad. You're meeting
connections.
You're making incredible connections because there are people on levels that you never would have otherwise connected with because they only live on sets.
Totally.
And you're making money while doing
wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
That even if you like learn, I don't know, and very, sometimes depending on what shows you're on, very crusty people, which can be annoying, but that's a lesson about life anyway. Right. Or like very
just
eclectic
don't stay
people.
too long.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll be the crusty.
Yeah, otherwise you'll be the crusty man. No, I like a lot of the people I really respect in the film industry in Calgary in general, you know, especially if they're like trying to make it big doing something else. Yeah. They still have, they still AC on the side, or they still do corporate video on the side, or they do gaffing, which is primarily what I do. Like that's my side hustle. And it's good because it is so specifically gaffing to coming a director of photography is so closely related.
So related. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just being able to be the one person on set that talks directly to the DP about lighting, right? Which is half the job of shooting something. Yeah.
And you get to learn how they light, and it makes you a better DP while you're even not DPing at the time.
Totally. And it's all about a balance, but like it is a good way of like, and like just building connections. And then, you meet someone and you hit it off and have a good time. Maybe they'll be like, hey, I'm like directing this little thing. Do you want to come shoot it? Or like come gaff it, or, I don't know. It's just, it's a really good way of like expanding yourself.
Right.
So.
Perfect.
Doing set things.
Yeah. I think that's some good info.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up. I think it's time to spoon.
Yes.
I've been hankering for a spooning this whole time.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. We're in for a lot of spooning.
Oh man, what was the last time? I think it was during Abracadabras.
Abracadabras was the last time we spooned.
Yeah. Where I violently spooned.
Were you violently?
Yeah. This is real, by the way. Like this actually happened.
Shae was spooning me. I was not spooning him, and I was not. I did not consent.
Non-consensual spooning. Real tragic.
He was sleeping.
I believe it was in the Bluebird Motel.
Bluebird Motel
in Innisfail.
It was raining. It was
cold.
Yeah. It was raining. It was cold. The toilet didn't match the tub. You know what I mean?
And all the suites were different. Everything.
All the suites were different.
It felt like they just found things to put in them over time.
Yeah. So imagine it's 3 a.m. You have like this thin blanket that you're sharing with this like bony bearded guy. The lock was clearly broken at one point and patched up in the room. You can kind of it smells like just mold and dampness.
Yeah, and you're tired from a long day of set. You're all soggy. You're slightly drunk because you went to Boston Pizza and you got nothing better to do because it's fucking Innisfail.
And you're just falling asleep, and then a bony arm reaches around you and like pulls you as hard as it can, and then you resist, and it grabs it makes it want more. It's like quicksand. It's like bony quicksand.
Oh man. Yeah.
Anyway,
it's preposterous that we were even sharing a bed.
No, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care because I'm not the one getting violently spooned.
But we're in for more possibly soon.
Yep, who knows?
Anyway, it's been good. It's been fun having you on the podcast.
It's been good.
Do you have any closing words for just sort of, I don't know, what's your creative philosophy?
make stuff that you like really want to make, and like try to separate shooting like your work stuff from your like creative stuff, just have fun and like try to make something you really enjoy. And I guess like just having a good like creative work, shitty work balance.
Right.
Yeah, and I don't know, just be enthusiastic, have fun. Like,
and be honest.
Be honest. Yeah.
Cool.
So that's not the worst place. It's shitty sometimes, but if you just like have a good time, it changes everyone's moods on set,
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Perfect. Oh, just spooning.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
So regardless of what creative industry you're in, I'm sure that you can apply a lot of these tips to your own career, especially the ones about communication and how to deal with building connections online. I think there's some really valuable stuff in there, and Shae is the friggin' master of that. If you want to continue the conversation with Shae or myself, hit up Shae on Instagram at stickboyreturns, or you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter at FilmMiker. Remember, this podcast is available on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. So if you want the audio version, go check it out there. If you want the video version, go check it out on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/MichaelManus, or just look up Sounds Like Mike on YouTube. Anyways, thank you again so much for watching. I can't wait till next Monday where you can hear the next episode of Sounds Like Mike. I will see you then. Boom, that was fucking perfect. One take Mike. That's what they call me. Anyway. I think that's cut.